G'day, how you going? What do you know? They'll strike a light. G'day, and how you going? Just say g'day, and you'll be right.
Welcome to the Midweek End Times News and Trends Briefing as we share major events and what is happening around the world as it relates to Bible prophecy. Today's date is Wednesday, July 20th, 2016. It does appear, as we look at the news that is happening on a weekly and daily basis, that the world seems to be coming apart. And this is why it's so important for us, especially as believers, to be grounded in the Word of God and in our personal relationship with the Lord. That will keep us at peace and keep us focused on Him. The first item I'd like to address to you and share with you is a report that came out of the Jewish Telegraph Agency. It was actually a video that was done by Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and it came out on Sunday. And in the video, he's addressing to Abbas, the PLO leader, 5 steps toward peace. He says in this video that he sent to Mahmoud Abbas, listing 5 steps the Palestinian Authority president can take to help bring peace between Israel and the Palestinians. The message was released on Friday in English, and he says this: President Abbas, since over the past several years you refused to meet and sit down and negotiate peace, I hope you'll hear this message. And then he began to talk through this video about some of his key ideas here. He called on Abbas, first of all, to fire his advisor, Sultan Abu al-Azin, who recently called to slit the throat of every Israeli. He said that the threat led to the stabbing murder of a 13-year-old girl while she was sleeping in her bed in her home in the West Bank. He also called on Abbas to instruct his Fatah Party social media advisor to halt posting Facebook messages that praised the Palestinian murders. A third step, Netanyahu suggested not to dedicate a monument to Abu Sakar, who in July 1975 murdered 15 people by detonating a refrigerator explosive filled with explosive on a busy Jerusalem street, instead of honor a champion of coexistence. Another step was to halt a monthly salary paid by the PLO to Palestinians who killed Jews. And then the fifth step he suggested was to recognize that every Israeli and Palestinian child deserves a life of hope, of tranquility, and opportunity. And he goes on to say that I will continue to work tirelessly for peace. It's time that you join this effort, Netanyahu concluded. It is interesting also, another report that came out of the Israel National News, that John Kerry will meet with Abbas in Paris to discuss this peace deal that is happening, or what they're trying to put together, without, of course, Israel being a part of this process. Anyways, we do see time and time again is that Israel is for peace. They want peace and security and safety within their country and within the nation. But the PLO, the Arabs, and the Muslims are always wanting destruction and war. And that's just something you see every single day through all kinds of media, news sources. And when you're living there and when you're seeing what is happening, this is what you see on a daily basis. On another piece of information, this is concerning Turkey, again, as it's been coming up in the news lately. And Turkey is a major piece in end times Bible prophecy, as we see things lining up and what happens there. Again, Turkey is a real bridge between the Middle East and Europe, and one of those key position and players in NATO as well. But according to this report out of the WND website, mentioned how Trump advisors talks about this particular crisis that happened in Turkey, that it may unleash the Islamic wrath. And again, Erdogan, who's the president of Turkey, who assumed control over this particular coup that happened. And again, there's people that wanted to overthrow him. But anyways, the article talks about how because of this particular event, that we can see that Erdogan was probably more determined to make Turkey an Islamic state. And since the failed coup, the Turkish authorities have rounded up thousands of military personnel whom have nothing to do with the plot to oust Erdogan. In addition, thousands of judges and government workers are also in custody through this whole process. He also said, this is the Trump's advisor, said that Erdogan may use the coup as grounds to trample rights to ditch Turkey's secular legacy. And so this could be an excuse that this government could use to control political life completely and then move the country toward becoming an Islamic regime. And that makes a lot of sense, and this whole coup could have happened. Not saying that it is, but it wouldn't be surprised if it was a staged and planned, a setup, a false flag, if you will, for more of this Islamic regime and to push the country further to Islamic control. So it wouldn't be surprising if Erdogan could have done that. Maybe the people there got sick and tired, or the military personnel, of his dictatorship and the way he's running the country. So couple scenarios there. Again, still early to report on all the information, what's going on. They're still going to take weeks to determine how all this is going to turn out. Also, in speaking of Turkey and Erdogan, this came out, there's quite a few news reports on this. This one came out of the Megyn Kelly website, and also Shubat carried the same similar information. Muslim scholars worldwide declare Erdogan to be the supreme leader for the entire Muslim world. So after this so-called failed coup attempt in Turkey, a crucial letter of allegiance granted to Erdogan by all the Muslim scholars globally was sent none other than the Sheikh, or who was the president of the World Federation of Muslim Scholars. And in this letter, he basically represents all Sunni Muslims and scholars globally. He even tweeted some of the content out in the same report that talks about this. And the excerpts of his letter was shared in every media in the Middle East, from the Arab world to Turkey, and every Arabic-speaking media covered it with zero mention in the West. It consists what many would view to be a direct command from heaven itself to Erdogan, declaring that Allah, including the angelic host and the saints, appointed Erdogan to be given allegiance by all Muslims, including all Muslim scholars from all four corners of the globe. And then the article does talk about what was said in that. We're not saying that he is the Islamic Mahdi or the supreme leader, but he has all the makings and characteristics of one. And time will tell how this will unfold, but it's something worth noting and keep an eye on. Many years ago, the previous president of Iran was calling himself to be the supreme leader and the Mahdi in these end times. And speaking of Iran and keeping an eye on things, out of the Washington Times came this report. Secret Iran nuke docs reveal Obama's betrayal. So the article talks about how the secret documents obtained by the Associated Press were attached to last year's nuclear deal with Iran that will allow the Islamic theocracy to get a nuclear weapon in half the time stated by the Obama administration in about 10 years. This revelation confirms the worst fears for those worried about American national security in the face of a nuclear-armed Iran. Initially, the Obama administration sold out and betrayed the United States, which isn't surprising. This is something that the Obama administration has been doing since he got elected, and lied to the American people about it. The documents were leaked by diplomats involved in the deal. The document is not only secret text linked to last year's agreement between Iran and 6 other foreign powers. It says that after a period of 11 to 13 years, Iran can replace its 5,660 inefficient centrifuges with 3,500 advanced machines. Since those are 5 times as efficient, the time Iran would need to make a weapon would drop from a year to 6 months, reported the Associated Press. A few months ago, the administration officials bragged about how they had created an echo chamber of false information to sell the deal to the public. And now we know that the president actually betrayed the American national security and blatantly lied to everyone who was concerned about the negotiations confirming worse suspicions. The deal needs to be torn up as soon as possible so the full extent of the damage to America can be uncovered by the next president. So this is, again, it was a bad deal to begin with. Why are you negotiating with countries like Iran? But this is what this current administration does, the Obama administration, and it's all about the destruction of America, not the advancement of America or making America great. And so we've only seen bad policies come out of the Democratic Obama administration. On another issue, an economic issue, is interesting to see, and this will affect more or less what's happening in Europe. But the Germans' Deutsche Bank is going to close nearly 200 branches. This came out of the Reuters website, and also DW website reported this, and there's many that will continue. But the Germany's largest bank said it will close or merge 188 of its branches across Germany during 2017. The move comes as an institution continues to struggle financially. And according to a list published in the bank's website, Germany's most popular state that has over 51 branches will be eliminated over the next year. Berlin is set to close 43 branches. 26 of them are Berliner Bank, Deutsche Bank sister company. And even Frankfurt won't even be spared. The home of the Deutsche Bank will see 5 branches close. And so the Deutsche Bank currently has 723 branches in Germany, and the institution emphasized its website that many of these branches will merge into larger, significant, more powerful locations. So it will be an interesting to watch the fallout of the closing of these banks, the merging of the banks, the economic issue that's involved with all this. On to another issue that's happening throughout the U.S. as people are watching the disasters that are going on. The slaughter of police officers is a sign of more of a less of a civil war, that civil unrest, I should say, which most likely will lead to a civil war. But we're seeing the Black Lives Matter, the whole massive rioting happening all throughout the U.S., the shooting of cops all over the place. So it's getting, I believe, getting the nation set up for a martial law takeover as things are unraveling around the country, things that are planned most likely by the government as well, so they can stay in control of the people, putting fear within people, dividing the country even more so. And it's unfortunate to see this happening. We even see another policy that's continued to destroy America is this whole refugee situation. This report came out of the WND website, and it talks about how refugees secretly flooding into these states. So despite more reports in recent weeks about Muslim refugees raping and attacking people in the U.S. and Europe, and President Obama has ramped up the Syrian refugee program. And we thought what was happening with Obama's bad, it's going to be 550 times worse if Hillary Clinton gets in, but that's another story. But in delivering 625 to U.S. cities in 1 week, crossing the 6,000 mark for a total of Syrians who have entered the country since October. With a little more than 2 months before September 30th deadline to fulfill Obama's promise to the United Nations to resettle 10,000 Syrians in the U.S., the number of arrivals have swollen to 6,227. That's up from 5,211 that have arrived in the current fiscal year as July 1st and 5,698 as of July 13th. Of the 6,227, only 23 have been Christians. The remaining amount of the Syrian refugees, more than 90% or so entering the U.S. as refugees, have been Sunni Muslims. That's the same group of people that makes up the ranks of ISIS and other groups that are viciously persecuting Christians in Syria. Michigan, California, Arizona, Texas, Illinois are the top 5 stages and states for the number of Syrian refugees received so far in the fiscal year of 2016. These refugees are hand-selected by United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees to be permanently resettled in the U.S. Another website that gave a list of 190 cities where Obama will be placing these Syrian Muslim refugees. As we said, and we mentioned in a previous report, instead of resettling these refugees all over the world, is to go into the country, not only Syria, but some of the other places around the world, and deal with the government or create these places there in their home country so they're not going to destroy countries around the world. And what we're seeing happening all throughout Europe and is slowly starting to take place in the U.S., just like this the other day about the German train axe attack, where the Afghan teen, a refugee, shouting Allahu Akbar and goes on this bloody rampage, hacking passengers. That report came out of the Mirror website out of the UK. And so it talked about how the Axeman stormed passengers on a train, hacked terrified passengers while shouting Allahu Akbar, has been identified as a 17-year-old boy who entered Germany as a lone refugee. So this is why we need to put a stop to these refugees coming in for a better vetting process. Onto a moral issue. And it's really the decline and the implosion of a state and of a nation, but you're seeing the progressive development and decline of a nation like this. When they're doing policies like this, it's going to affect the nations to come. But in California, and this report came out of the Breitbart report on Tuesday, how California is the first state to teach LGBT curriculum to second graders. So it's the first state to adopt the rights of the LGBT agenda formally into public schools as part of a new history and social studies curriculum that will reach children as young as second grade. And the superintendent of public instruction mentioned that, this is such a big win for our students, when it's really not. But this document, as he says in this article, will improve the teaching and the learning of history and social science. It will give our students access to the latest historical research and help them learn about the diversity of our state and the contributions of the people in every group who have not received the appropriate recognition in the past. However, Peter Wood, who is the president of the National Association of Scholars, NAS, he tells Breitbart News the new framework is the height of political correctness. And he goes on to say this whole idea of social science or history could be taught in a manner that does not reflect adversely on groups of people is absurd, he observed, adding that people acting as groups or members of groups often do discreditable things, and even more often to do things later generations condemn, even if those actions seem right at the time. An accurate account of history or social science has to reflect the reality that is deeply disservice to students to give them a whitewash story. The California framework is identically political, leaning so far left that has been fallen off into the Pacific Ocean of educational incompetence. Period. So the new framework, which comes in response to a 2011 state law requiring the inclusion of LGBT history in a content of what students are already taught in history and social study classes. The Department of Education in California states that the information was added to the framework about financial literacy, voter education, genocide, and the contributions of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender LGBT Americans and have people with disabilities to the history of California and the United States. The CDE, the California Department of Education, names the information adding regarding to the LGBT agenda as a topic that sparks spirited debate. In fact, the group also, and the article goes on to say that the group creates printed resources for teachers to use in K through 12 classrooms and urges schools to celebrate LGBT History Month and LGBT Pride Month. So the reading materials and lessons for children include books like Heather Has Two Mommies, It's Okay to Be Different, and Tango Makes Three. So a lesson that on Think Before You Speak, a guide to LGBT politically correct language, is also promoted by GLSEN, GLSEN. And on their website, it provides 12 through K educator resources that include an LGBT inclusive curriculum and lesson plans on topics and how to celebrate LGBT month, History Month in classrooms. And each year, GLSEN, GLSEN, sponsors the Day of Silence when it encourages thousands of public schools, high schools, and middle schools students to remain silent throughout the entire day to promote the militant LGBT agenda among young people. GLSEN is also joined with Planned Parenthood, which isn't a surprise when you have the immorality and sexual behavior of the group, to promote sexual-related curricula in schools. So it's another tragic day to see happening in the United States and in the school system there, the brainwashing that is going on, the intolerance of having a conservative traditional view. Let me close with this. And it's always cool to see these sort of reports. This report came out of the Christian Headline News on Monday, and how thousands of Christians open the GOP convention week with prayer. Something you're not going to see at the Democrat convention, but you will see it in the Republican, because you have more Christians and Bible-believing people that would attend these the GOP convention. But the convention began on Monday, on July 18th, and the article talked about how thousands of Christians went to Cleveland to pray before its opening. How cool to see that happening. And according to CBN News, Christians in great numbers prayed for revival in America. And as the Bible says in 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people who humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, there will be healing and hearing from heaven, as one participant prayed. And the convention, again, takes place at a time when the nation is in turmoil and in the midst of the recent tragedies. But you also see such a divided nation. And it's really been pushed by the media, and especially by the Democratic Party, is trying to divide the people. Donald Trump, who is the presumptive Republican nominee, will have his work cut out for him trying to unite his own party, again the Republican Party, that is kind of fairly divided amongst itself, and it's plagued by some racial tension and tragedy that's happened throughout the last year. Many believe Trump has helped his campaign by choosing, when he elected or brought on board the vice presidential candidate for him, Mike Pence. And I love, and I watched a news interview on Hannity one time, and interviewing Mike, and he says, here's my priorities. First of all, I'm a Christian. Secondly, I'm a conservative. And thirdly, I'm a Republican. And I like that priority. He's number one, a Christian. And I think this is what's going to really make the difference in this next coming election, as you have a man of God in positions of leadership and people that can make a difference. You know, we're tired of the way the Democrat people have destroyed America with their far left liberal policies, and it's time for America to return to its core Christian values and back to the Constitution that the country wrote up, and to defend and to protect the people. So such an important remaining several months, especially for the election, which is going to affect the economy, is going to affect the policies in dealing with Israel, national security, the immigration, the refugee crisis, you name it. This is such a crucial time in history, and what is happening around the world, the end times. And so as a believer in Jesus Christ and his soon return, we don't have much time left before the rapture of the church. And we need to be busy telling as many people about the gospel of Jesus Christ, to getting people ready for his soon return. And may we all keep our hearts and mind fixed upon Jesus as the author and finisher of our faith. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's update, and may the Lord radically and outrageously bless you. Until next time, God bless.